Hello, my YouTube family. This is the OG Crypto New Jack coming at you with some juicy news. But before I begin, let me say I'm not a financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Remember to do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making investment decisions. I'm going to look at the total crypto market cap. It is at 1.22 trillion. It seems to be stagnant. Coming in at number one is Bitcoin at 30,198. Coming in at number two is Ethereum at 1,859. My beloved XRP is coming in at number 6 at 47 cents. Taking a look at crypto bubbles, it looks like Avalanche is a top gainer at 8.3%, and eCash looks like it's the biggest loser, down 10.3%. The Fear and Greed Index is in greed at 58. And I'm going to start out with this tweet from Michael Branch. My youngest is battling breast cancer. Her name is Kamoshi. She's had to quit working due to the cancer. She has a 1-year-old. Anything, even $1 would help. Thank you, her dad, Michael Branch. And this is something that it kind of really hits home with me because I'm a father of 3 daughters. And actually, my oldest is 32, and she's about to be a mama for the first time in November and makes me a grandfather for the first time as well. So it's kind of like, it's almost like it could hit home for anybody, any one of us. And I made my donation, and I'm just trying to help this family out because this is something that I can't even imagine going through. So if you can donate anything, even like he said, even $1, that would help, because what this family is going through, the last thing on their mind should be their finances, how they're going to pay their mortgage and their bills and stuff like that. She had enough to worry about dealing with this cancer. So we wish them nothing but the best. I hope for a speedy recovery, and God bless them. And thank you if you're able to. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. This is a tweet from Gilbert Meridian. The crypto market by the end of 2022 was less than 0.5% of financial markets. In 2022, the total regulated capital markets of debt and equity was 233 trillion. Crypto was only 798 billion. The tokenization of regulated markets is 24 trillion by 2027, according to HSBC. So, I mean, as you can see, there's a lot of room for the upside. This crypto market, even though it's been around since 2009, slowly but surely is going to be getting adopted globally, and we're just at the infancy stage. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Ray Fuentes to put this thing out. Exciting news. We've hit the 100 members milestone on the link to Discord community this week. Join us for engaging conversations, sharing insights, cultivating positivity. Drop by and introduce yourself. And link to is going places. They're a great company. Okay, moving on. Uphold, put this thing out. Coming soon, Uphold Vault. Uphold Vault is a state-of-the-art assisted custody solution built to keep your assets secure and protect against private key loss. With Vault, Uphold implements a multi-sig framework in which Uphold holds 1 key and you hold the remaining 2. The 2 keys are required to conduct a transaction, allowing you to operate independently even if the Uphold system is unavailable. Upon launch, early access will be granted to XRP holders with support for other networks and tokens in the future. The fluidity of these centralized services meets decentralized security with Uphold Vault. So this is something that I believe they put out before, and they're just putting it out again as a reminder. So I'm just doing my part to remind all of you as well. Okay, moving on. Shout out to ISO 222. FEDNOW equals payment settled in less than 1 second. And this is something going to be going on, I believe, July 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, moving on. Shout out to XRP Drops. Ripple partner FISGLOBAL is ready. And here they write, San Francisco-based company Ripple offers RippleNet, connecting banks, payment providers, and corporates. RippleNet uses blockchain-based technology to enable low-cost, real-time messaging and settlement of transactions with upfront transparency of end-to-end fees and execution time. RippleNet can be accessed via the on-premise installed Ripple software called Xcurrent. FIS integration with Ripple's blockchain-based solution is being used at our clients' businesses for making cross-border remittance payments. The integration covers transaction creation, ingestion into the network, and upfront transparent disclosure of fees and 4x rates before the customer confirms the transfer. That is good to see. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Anders. Why is XRPL the most hated? Because it truly removes middlemen with monetary incentives. Correspondent banks, miners, stakers. Coinbase Exchange saw it as a threat early with a built-in DEX. They all extract fees from the users to keep the system running. And that is exactly what's going on. in the early days of Ripple, the Coinbase folks and virtually everyone else in the space were Bitcoin maximalists. There were a few altcoin forks of Bitcoin, but those were pretty easy to dismiss. Now keep in mind that Coinbase was a BTC/USD exchange and payment solution at the time. They were seen as one of the few serious players in the Bitcoin space. Now enter Ripple with its built-in exchange capability, then add in the deceptive ease at starting a new USD gateway and Ripple's ability to end-to-end atomic payments from any currency to any currency. We managed to steal a lot of Coinbase's thunder and blurred their differentiators. Note, deceptive turned out to mean easily technically, but impossible from a regulatory compliance perspective. While I don't remember anyone inside Ripple being particularly competitive with Coinbase, from the other direction, it quickly became clear that they felt competitive with Ripple. I hope that we could bring Coinbase onto Ripple as an early gateway. They, on the other hand, seem to feel that if Ripple won, then they and the Bitcoin maximalists lost. And that is a mindset that we had to do without. No more maximalism, no more tribalism. We're all in the same space trying to build together. We all can win in this game. We all can. We all bringing something to the table. Okay, moving on. Shout out to John Dean. He put out, Clinton literally asked if he was not in charge of the SEC 2.5 years ago. Even worse, he had Eli Roisman and Hester Peirce as fellow Republican commissioners and thus had the votes to provide regulatory clarity and provide a pathway that would have allowed innovation to foster while taking steps to actually protect investors. Segregation of customer funds / crypto, 100% reserve, transparency, etc. But Jay Clayton, like Bill Hinman, was more interested in cashing in on his position by maintaining an opaque regulatory environment immediately after leaving the SEC. Clayton joined One River and has been involved in the digital asset space since, while his buddy Hinman joined A16Z Group, among other things, the very investors who helped write his infamous speech. When compared to Gensler, some may choose to give Clayton a pass, but I'm not one of them, and neither am I, because they're all complicit in this E3 pass, and I think they all have their hands in the pie. Okay, moving on. And speaking of Jay Clayton, this is Tony Edwards from the Thinking Crypto podcast. He writes, what I say anytime Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler open their mouth to speak.
Shut the fuck up, bitch. Shut the fuck up, bitch.
And I believe that's exactly how all of us XRP holders feel. Okay, moving on. Cointelegraph says the spot Bitcoin ETFs have received little attention from investors in Canada and Europe, says JP Morgan. And they go on to say that a possible approval of a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund won't be a game changer for crypto markets, says JP Morgan. And you know what? I hate to disagree with them. I do not agree with that viewpoint. I mean, the total crypto market cap is a little over 1 trillion. At its peak, it was around 3 trillion. And if you have BlackRock, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and Deutsche Bank, and all these major institutions in the United States and outside the United States, they're bringing in approximately $30 trillion. Not that they're all going to go into crypto, but they're going to allocate a small percentage, probably anywhere from 1% to 3%. So our market cap of 1 trillion could easily go from 5 to 10 trillion from where it's at today. And that is a game changer for crypto. That's a lot of money coming in that we haven't seen before. So I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with JP Morgan. Okay, moving on. Shout out to CoinDesk. They put this thing out that Coinbase has previously acknowledged that some cryptocurrencies listed on its platform might be securities. The SEC argued on filing responding to the exchange. So this is the SEC pushing back on the Coinbase filing, where they argued that the regulator did not have sufficient jurisdiction to bring a lawsuit and wanted the judge to toss out the lawsuit. And Paul Grewal responded to that. And this is what he writes. He is the chief legal officer of Coinbase. After Coinbase gave notice of intent to move to throw out their case, we consented to a few extra days for the SEC to explain why it intends to oppose. They now filed, and sadly, it's more of the same. They ignore the plain requirement in the Supreme Court's holding in Howey decades ago that an investment contract first and foremost requires enforceable rights against an issuer. It requires more than just an investment of money, etc. They ignore their obligation to give due regard to the public interest and investor protection when they allowed us to list publicly over 2 years ago. They ignore the statement of their own chair a month later in testimony before Congress that there are no regulatory authorities applicable to cryptocurrency exchanges like us. They ignore the clear and unmistakable warning of the Supreme Court just last week against regulatory overreach and major questions reserved to Congress. And lastly, and on it goes, ignoring these dispositive points, but apparently we agree on one thing. Many of these issues can and should be decided promptly as a matter of law. Read it for yourself, and that was a very good response to the Coinbase opposition of the SEC. Okay, shout out to the digital asset investor. He put out this video of Peter Schiff. Let me play the video.
Gold, when you combine it with blockchain, that is gold 2.0, because all of the qualities that the proponents of Bitcoin attributed to Bitcoin, you actually have with gold when you have it as a medium of exchange. But today with blockchain, it's so much easier for somebody who accepts payment in a digital currency backed by gold to authenticate the legitimacy of that digital currency. So everything that worked with a paper monetary system before we had the internet, before we had blockchain, will work even better now. So instead of the crypto community trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to say that Bitcoin is gold, when Bitcoin doesn't have any of the properties that made gold desirable as money. Bitcoin was able to counterfeit some of the properties that made gold better money than other commodities, whether it's the divisibility, the fungibility, the portability, but none of those attributes would have mattered but for the intrinsic value of the metal itself. But with blockchain, gold is even more marketable today than it's ever been. And so that's where all of the effort should be. How do we use blockchain to reintroduce gold? Because the reason that the government's got us away from gold is because government fiat currency was more efficient to use.
Okay, and I gotta say, I think this is the first time I ever agreed with Peter Schiff. He is making some valid points, and this is what the digital asset investor wrote. Gold 2.0 is coming. Why own Bitcoin when you can own a digital asset backed by gold and solve the transportability problem of gold that is built on the XRP ledger? And I 1000% agree with the digital asset investor. Shout out to him for always putting out great content. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Mac Attack for this tweet. Ripple Labs real estate tokenization plan uncovered. And it says there, Ripple Labs Incorporated is deepening its stance in the tokenization world and is set to pivot into real estate by powering CBDC sustainability. And this is the article. I am just going to read the highlighted part. CBDCs are gaining traction globally, and at Ripple, CBDC team are focusing in on real-world use cases for a CBDC stablecoin. Last week, I shared 2 real use cases at a CEE FinTech conference in Romania. Tokenization is the future of real estate. And that is a quote from Anthony Welfare when he was in Romania. And if you can remember, this is already happening. The digital Hong Kong dollar, tokenized real estate, they have a pilot program in Hong Kong that this is already taking place, and this is where the future is going. Real estate will be tokenized, and it will be put on a ledger, most likely the XRP ledger. I mean, there'll be others, but that's going to be the main one. And we're in for one wild ride. Well, okay, fam, that's going to do it for today's video. If you found this video to be helpful, would you please smash a like and subscribe? I would really appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you much in advance. And in the words of Snoop Dogg, keep your mind on your money and your money on your mind. Peace out, fam.